Free your mind, and the world will follow. Morpheus, The Matrix. Before we begin, here's a small ritual. Write in the comments one word that accurately describes your current state. Sign it, and let's get started. There is a kind of fear that doesn't scream. It doesn't run at you with teeth or claws. It just sits, waits, lurks, quiet, heavy, familiar. This fear lives in people's bones. It shows up when everything seems fine, when the job pays well, when the relationship looks perfect on photos, when the room is warm and full of light. That's when it appears. A whisper behind the thoughts, a slow, deep breath behind your back, the sense that something's wrong, even if everything looks right. This fear is older than memory. It didn't start with you. It was planted long ago by voices that said, don't speak, don't feel and don't show, don't try. You grew up thinking it was you, but it wasn't. It was inherited, and that's the trap. Because when fear hides behind your name, you stop noticing it's not yours. The world rewards people who obey this fear, those who nod, agree, perform. The fear tells you, stay low, don't stand out, be good, and it disguises itself as wisdom, as caution, as realism. But it's still fear. At first, you live with it like a roommate. You adjust. You shape yourself around it. You let it pick your clothes, your friends, your words. You even let it decide who you are. But then it grows, quietly, patiently, until one day you can't breathe. Not because something's wrong on the outside, but because something inside you is tired of hiding. That's when it knocks, gently, not with violence, but with a feeling, a deep discomfort, a silent ache, a knowing that refuses to leave. You begin to sense something behind the scenes, like a presence watching through your own eyes, like a hand pulling the strings you thought were yours. And when you finally turn around to face it, you see the shadow. Your shadow is everything you were told not to be. It's the anger you suppressed, the tears you held back, the desires you buried, the screams you swallowed, all the versions of you that were labeled too much, too loud, too weak, too weird. And it's not evil, it's not bad, it's simply exiled, forgotten, waiting to be seen. But society teaches us, avoid the shadow. Don't go there. Stay light, stay positive, stay productive. So you numb it, distract yourself, scroll, work, drink, repeat. But it waits, because it knows the truth. You cannot be whole while hiding half of yourself. And here's the twist. This shadow isn't your enemy, it's your key. Because only by facing it can you begin to wake up. Only by walking through the fear can you see the matrix for what it is. Not a digital system, not a global conspiracy, a much more personal prison built from fear, maintained by silence, guarded by your own mind, and the only way out is in. Because the matrix doesn't fall when you fight it. The matrix falls when you no longer fear it. Fear is the most effective tool ever created. Not by accident, not by evolution, but by design. From the moment you are born, fear becomes your language. The first lessons are simple. Don't cry too loud or you'll be left alone. Don't touch, don't run, don't scream. Be quiet, be careful, be good. But those are just the first layers. The deeper ones come later through systems, through structure, through the silent machinery of society that shapes what you believe, what you value, and what you're allowed to become. Fear is taught as protection, but it becomes obedience. It hides behind every rule, every warning, every polite smile that says, "Don't make things complicated." Every silent room where truth is too dangerous to speak. Every hallway where someone knows the truth but stays silent to keep their job, their place, their comfort. The system does not need chains. It needs frightened minds. Fear works better than force. You don't need walls when people build their own, and they do, over time, brick by brick, built from doubts, from shame, from the fear of being seen as different or difficult or dangerous. The Matrix isn't made of machines. It's made of expectations, and you are plugged into it without knowing. Not with wires, but with beliefs. Ideas like, don't speak unless you're sure. Don't stand out too much. Don't make others uncomfortable. Don't follow your instincts. They'll ruin everything. Fear was planted in you early, so deep you began to call it wisdom. You thought it was just maturity, just common sense, just how life works. And when that seed grows, it doesn't just live in your mind. It runs your life. It decides which job you take, which people you keep, which truths you hide, which battles you never start. It whispers every time you want to leap and convinces you to stay small. Now look around. A world full of frightened people, wearing strong faces, smiling while panicking, competing while breaking, surviving instead of living. And what feeds this machine now, more than anything, is media. The news doesn't sell information. It sells fear, panic, crisis, urgency, click, 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 headlines designed to freeze you, content built to trigger you, algorithms made to keep you hooked, anxious, alert, because attention is power, and fear is the fastest way to steal it. You don't have to believe in anything, just be afraid. That's enough to keep the machine running. And social media, it refines this process, makes it personal, makes it endless. Comparison becomes fear. Scroll long enough and you start to believe that everyone else has it figured out, that you're behind, that you're not enough, not smart enough, not fit enough, not successful enough, not lovable. You see fake lives, edited realities, performative happiness, and your nervous system absorbs it as failure, and the fear deepens. Fear becomes the lens. You stop seeing what's real. You only see what might go wrong. And when people are scared, they stop questioning. They follow. They repeat. They obey. The ones in power know this. Politicians, marketers, media giants. They don't need to tell you what to think. They just make you afraid. Afraid of the other side. Afraid of missing out. Afraid of being left behind. Afraid of being cancelled, ignored, unseen. They divide through fear. Control through fear. Profit through fear. And they've done it so well, most people don't even notice. They've accepted fear as normal, as necessary as truth. But here's the secret. Fear is not truth. Fear is a product, and you've been buying it your whole life. The Matrix isn't a system you fight with weapons. It's a trance you wake up from. And the first step is this. Stop feeding the fear. See it. Name it. Pull back the curtain. It's not your voice. It's a script. And once you hear it, you can stop repeating it. Because no one controls a person who is not afraid. Fear is subtle. It doesn't chase you through the dark. It walks beside you in daylight. It sounds like a reasonable voice, a cautious friend. It tells you to wait, to think twice, to be careful. It sounds smart, but it steals your life inch by inch. People think fear means panic, danger, running from something with teeth. But the real fear, the one that ruins lives, is quiet. It tells you not to speak your truth because someone might leave. It tells you not to start the thing you've dreamed of because you might fail. It tells you not to leave that relationship, that job, that city, because unknown means unsafe. So you stay, you adjust, you swallow what you want to say, you perform, you make yourself acceptable, you play safe. The cage has no bars, but it's still a cage, and worst of all, you decorate it. You convince yourself that this is what being an adult means. Responsibility, realism, maturity. But deep down, you feel the tightness, the quiet ache, the dull, constant hunger for something more. That's your fire, your real self. The part of you that wants to leap, to burn, to scream, to live without waiting for permission. Every time you ignore it, the flame dims, not all at once, slowly, until one day you don't even notice it's gone. That's what fear does. It drains your instinct, your truth, your courage, and it does it so well, you start calling it logic. You think you're making wise decisions, but really, you're making small ones, safe ones, repeating the same patterns and calling it growth. And the system loves that. Because a person without fire is predictable. A person afraid of being judged won't speak. A person afraid of failing won't try. A person afraid of rejection will chase approval. A person afraid of being alone will tolerate anything. So fear becomes the operating system of your life. Every choice filtered through it. Every word, every action, weighed by what if? What if they leave? What if I look stupid? What if I lose everything? What if they don't like me? That what if is the chain, the mind loop, the invisible force that bends you without touching you. You obey it without realizing. And that's what makes fear the perfect tool. It doesn't have to force you. You do the work yourself. You silence yourself. You limit yourself. You censor your truth before the world even hears it. The result? A life lived on mute. Relationships where no one is real. Jobs where no one feels alive. Conversations that go nowhere. Dreams that die before they're born. And all of it feels normal. Because most people are doing the same. This isn't life. This is performance. This is survival mode disguised as adulthood. This is the Matrix. Not a machine, not a screen, but a set of internalized fears that control you better than any dictator ever could. But fear only works when it stays unchallenged. When it stays unnamed. When you keep believing it's you. Once you see it for what it is, a program, a script, a strategy designed to shrink you, it begins to lose power. And that's the shift. When you notice fear, name it, and move anyway, it can no longer hold the same control. You stop reacting. You start choosing. You begin to feel the fire again, small at first, but alive. Because fear isn't the problem. Obedience to fear is. Once you see that, you begin to walk out of the invisible prison, step by step, breath by breath, and the walls begin to disappear. Fear is not just an emotion, it's an entire industry, a system, a product that gets injected into your thoughts, your choices, your identity, until you can't tell where you end and the fear begins. The system knows how to use fear better than anything else because it doesn't need you dead. It needs you obedient. That means afraid enough to follow, but calm enough to function. Just enough stress to keep you busy, just enough pressure to keep you silent. And to build that balance, the world around you has become a factory, a precision machine that produces fear, packages it, and serves it on every screen you see. Start with the news. Not information, not facts, but theater. A show built on panic, threat, division. Headlines that scream, images that shock, voices that dramatize everything. Every story is urgent, every update a new reason to be afraid. It never ends. War, crisis, collapse, scandal. And when one panic fades, another one takes its place. It's not accidental, it's strategy, because fear captures attention. And attention is currency. The longer you stay afraid, the longer you keep watching. The longer you watch, the more power they hold. Fear makes you loyal. It makes you distrustful. It makes you cling to authority, to control, to anything that promises stability. And while you're afraid, you're not asking questions. You're not thinking freely. You're reacting. Then comes the next layer: social media. A digital mirror where everyone's pretending and no one is okay. You scroll through a world that looks perfect, filtered, edited, selected for maximum envy. Every smile, every success, every body, every life better than yours. Or so it seems. You begin to fear that you're not enough, not doing enough, not achieving fast enough. You fear missing out, falling behind, disappearing. So you try harder, post more, curate, compare, compete. But the fear never leaves, because the system is built to feed it. Every like becomes a hit of approval, every silence a punch of rejection. You begin to live for validation, to shape your life for performance. And fear quietly keeps you running. But here's what no one tells you. The system needs you insecure. Because insecure people buy more. They chase more. They need fixing. They need saving. They need solutions. And every ad, every brand, every guru knows it. They don't sell products. They sell fear-based answers. You're too old, too tired, too slow, too quiet, too soft. So buy this, follow that, become something else. It never ends. Because the moment you feel whole, the system loses a customer. Now take a step back. What do you see? A society where everyone's distracted, reactive, exhausted, where nobody trusts themselves, where most people have no idea what they want, only what they should avoid. Rejection, criticism, loneliness, risk. So they follow the crowd, follow the noise, follow the fear. And those in power, they don't need to scream. They just keep turning the knobs, adjust the volume, trigger reactions, keep the population emotionally unstable and spiritually numb. Fear is the perfect leash. People in fear don't rise. They survive. They don't rebel. They comply. You don't need to control them. They control themselves, policing their thoughts, doubting their feelings, mocking their instincts. That's the genius of it. It looks like free will, but it's programming. Look at how easily people turn on each other, how quick they are to attack, cancel, shame, divide. That's not truth. That's fear. People defend what they're afraid to lose. Identity, safety, belonging. The system knows. Give them something to fear, and they'll do the work for you. But here's the twist. Fear is fragile. It's powerful only when it's invisible. The moment you see it, really see it, it begins to crumble. You start to notice the script, the triggers, the manipulation, and suddenly you're not reacting. You're observing. You feel the fear rise, and instead of running, you stay. You breathe. You witness. You take your power back. Because power doesn't come from control. It comes from presence, from clarity, from knowing that fear is just a signal, not a master. And the more you confront it, the more it fades. Not because danger disappears, but because your mind is no longer its hostage. Imagine a life where your choices are based on truth, not fear, where you speak because it's real, not because it's safe, where you move forward not because you're certain, but because you're done waiting. That life is possible, but it doesn't happen by chance. It happens by breaking the system inside you, the one that was installed through repetition, through fear-fed loops, through quiet surrender over time. You don't have to burn the world down. You just have to stop believing the voice that tells you to stay small. You don't have to be fearless. You just have to stop obeying fear. Once you do that, the spell breaks, the chain snaps, and the system starts to lose what it fears most, a human being who no longer needs its approval. Freedom doesn't come in a burst of fire or a dramatic moment of awakening. It starts in silence, in a decision no one sees, a decision to stop running, to turn and face the thing you've been avoiding your whole life, the root of your fear. You can't destroy fear by thinking about it. You can't read it away or wish it gone. Fear is energy, and energy doesn't leave by force. It leaves by truth. It dissolves when it's seen clearly, felt completely, and no longer fed. This is not a spiritual concept. It's a practical process, real, step by step. And it begins the moment you choose to take back your mind. Step 1, stop running. Stop distracting, numbing, escaping. That means silence. That means sitting without noise, without scrolling, without reaching for something to fill the space. Just sit, breathe. Let whatever rises, rise. Don't judge it. Don't label it. Witness it. Fear hates this, because fear lives in momentum. When you stop, you see it. And when you see it, it starts to weaken. Step 2, write it down. Not the surface fear, but all of it. All the fears you carry, from the smallest to the most terrifying. Write them raw. I'm afraid I'll never be loved. I'm afraid I'm not enough. I'm afraid they'll see who I really am. Don't edit. Don't protect yourself. Empty it out. This step is brutal, but necessary, because most fear survives in silence. Writing it exposes it to light. Step 3, track its origin. For each fear, ask yourself, who taught me this? Where did it start? Was it a parent, a teacher, a partner, a moment of trauma or shame? Go back, see the moment it was born, and realize it didn't start with you. It was installed. Once you know that, it stops feeling like identity. It becomes just a program. Step 4, break the loop. Fear speaks in patterns, certain triggers, certain thoughts, certain reactions. Start observing how your fear moves. Notice what makes it spike, what voice it uses, what story it repeats. They'll leave. You'll fail. You're not ready. Recognize the script. Because once you hear it as a script, you stop obeying it like a law. Step 5, take the opposite action. Fear says don't speak, speak. Fear says stay, leave. Fear says wait, move. You don't need to feel brave. You just need to act anyway. The mind will panic. That's normal. Do it scared, do it shaking, But do it. Nothing rewires the nervous system faster than surviving what you thought would destroy you. Step 6. Cut the noise. Fear feeds on input. Negative news, toxic people, endless scrolling, constant comparison. It keeps your nervous system in a loop of fear. Break it. Unplug from the voices that keep you anxious. Set boundaries like your life depends on it. Because it does. You can't build peace in chaos. Step 7. Move your body. Fear is stored in the body. Trauma locks it into the muscles, the breath, the spine. So move, shake, stretch, walk, breathe deep, breathe slow. Let your body know it's safe now. Let your breath become your anchor. The more grounded your body, the freer your mind. Step 8. Tell the truth. Say what you mean. Feel what you feel. Be who you are, without softening it, twisting it, filtering it. Fear makes you lie to be accepted. Every time you tell the truth, you cut one of its ropes. Speak even when your voice trembles, especially then. Step 9. Let go of control. Fear thrives on control, trying to predict, protect, perfect. But life isn't control. Life is trust. Trust that you can handle what comes. Trust that not knowing is part of the way. Trust that your real self, not the masked one, will lead you better than fear ever could. Step 10. Repeat daily. Fear doesn't vanish in one breakthrough. It's a muscle that weakens through repetition. You face it, feel it, move anyway, every day. Some days it screams louder, other days it's a whisper. Doesn't matter. You keep going. You build resilience. You build truth. You build power. And slowly, something shifts. The same situations don't paralyze you. The same triggers don't trap you. You start to speak when you used to stay silent. You walk away when you used to beg. You rest when you used to push. You choose yourself, not from ego, but from clarity. Fear no longer makes your decisions. It becomes background noise. You hear it, but you don't listen. And in that space, freedom grows. Not dramatic, not loud, just steady, like breath, like truth. There is no moment where you'll feel ready, no sign from the sky, no perfect conditions. There's only now, this breath, this choice. And you don't need to be fearless to be free. You just need to stop obeying. You don't destroy fear with force. You starve it. You stop feeding it your time, your energy, your voice. And the moment you do, the matrix begins to crack. Because the matrix was never built to contain someone who remembers their power. When the noise stops, it feels strange at first, like standing in a room after the music cuts off. The echoes are still bouncing, your body still tense, your mind still waiting for the next alarm. But there's nothing, just quiet, just space. This is what life feels like without fear at the wheel. Not euphoric, not dramatic, just honest. Still, clear. Most people think freedom means excitement, a rush. But real freedom is peace. And peace, at first, can feel uncomfortable because fear kept you busy. Now, there's no one to fight, nothing to chase, no mask to hold, just you. And that's where the real work begins. Because freedom is not what the world told you it would be. It's not applause. It's not perfection. It's not endless confidence. It's being so rooted in yourself that external noise no longer steers you. And that kind of freedom comes with a new kind of silence, the kind that lets you meet yourself fully without the static. When you've lived most of your life reacting, choosing from fear, adjusting for survival, the absence of fear feels like a void. But it's not a void. It's the ground, the beginning, the place where truth can grow, because the lies have finally stopped screaming. You begin to notice things differently. You feel conversations that used to drain you, and now you quietly walk away. You sense manipulation in places where before you would have apologized. You hear the subtle panic in other people's voices and realize it's not yours to carry anymore. You become still, not because you don't feel, but because you no longer need to prove. People may ask if you're okay. They may not understand the quiet. They might even say, "You've changed." And they're right, you have. Because fear isn't speaking through you anymore. What's left is someone who doesn't chase validation, who doesn't adjust to avoid being alone, who no longer runs loops for other people's comfort. And this new self, the one born after fear, moves differently. You don't hustle for worth. You rest because you're allowed. You say no without guilt. You say yes without permission. You make choices from alignment, not urgency. And when discomfort rises, you no longer panic. You feel it. You breathe through it. You listen, but you don't obey. Because you've learned that the voice of fear isn't truth. It's memory. A ghost. And ghosts can't touch you when you stop reacting. This silence becomes your compass, your base, your strength. Not hard or aggressive, but grounded, unshakable. You become difficult to manipulate, not because you fight, but because you no longer abandon yourself. And as you walk through the world like this, you begin to see how much of it still runs on fear. You see people negotiating with themselves to stay in jobs they hate. You see relationships held together by avoidance. You hear how often people say, "I should," instead of "I want." And it doesn't make you angry. It makes you compassionate because you remember being there. But you also know now you can't save people from fear. You can only become the proof that it's possible to live without it. You become a mirror, a frequency, a reminder, not by preaching, not by explaining, just by being. And the system, it notices. Fear-based systems don't know what to do with someone they can't scare. Someone who doesn't respond to guilt, shame, or threat. Someone who can't be seduced by status, image, or approval. That kind of person breaks patterns simply by existing. Because fear needs reaction. It needs drama, argument, overthinking, overworking. It needs you to believe you are never enough, never safe, never ready. When you stop believing, it starves. And when enough people starve it, systems fall, quietly, like old buildings abandoned, not with noise, but with stillness. That's what makes freedom dangerous to the system. It can't be controlled. It can't be sold. It doesn't need permission. So you don't need to fight. You don't need to explain. You simply need to live. Fully, clearly, truly. From the inside out. Without fear as your compass. Without fear as your God. It may feel strange at first to live this way. There's a grief to it. Grief for the time lost. Grief for the masks worn. Grief for the person you could have been sooner. But even that grief becomes clean. Because now you're here, present, awake, and every breath becomes a new beginning. Freedom doesn't mean the fear never returns. It means that when it does, you meet it differently. You don't brace, you don't shrink. You say, "I see you." And you move anyway, you live anyway, you love anyway. The matrix, the sway, The real one isn't made of machines or wires. It's made of fear, internal, invisible, programmed so deeply you thought it was you. But it wasn't. It never was. You were never your fear. You were just trained to think you were. And the moment you stop believing it, the illusion breaks. The door opens, not outward, but inward. Because you don't escape the matrix. You outgrow it. You don't destroy it by force. You leave it by truth. And you don't need to wait for the world to change. You are the change. You choosing presence over panic. You choosing clarity over chaos. You walking out of the invisible war and into your own breath. This is not a fight. This is not a war. This is a return to yourself, to your knowing, to your life. And once you're there, you realize fear never had power, only permission. Take it back. You've seen how fear is built. You've felt it in your bones. You've faced the machinery that feeds it. And maybe now you've stopped obeying it. But the real shift comes when you stop just surviving without fear and begin fully living beyond it. Because fear doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers, subtle, soft, hidden in everyday moments. You walk into a room full of people and fear says, "Don't speak, they'll judge you." You get a message late at night and fear says, "Something's wrong." You consider taking a new path and fear says, "You're not ready." It's not about removing fear forever. It's about making it powerless. So here's how to do that in real daily life, not in theory. In the ordinary moments where fear tries to sneak back in. When you fear judgment, reconnect to your core truth. Judgment only hurts when you're disconnected from yourself, because deep down, you fear they might be right. So don't fight them. Ground yourself. Ask, what do I know is true about me? Breathe into that. Speak from that. The more you own your truth, the less power anyone has to take it. When you fear failure, shift from outcome to experience. Fear is obsessed with results. What if it goes wrong? What if I lose? But freedom lives in the process. Focus on the experience, the movement, the growth, not the finish line. The more you engage with life itself, the less fear can freeze you. When you fear loss, return to presence. Loss is part of life. People will go. Things will end. But fear makes you abandon the now while chasing a future you can't control. Come back. Feel your breath. Feel the moment. Love fully. Be here now. That's all life ever promised you anyway. Thus, when you fear rejection, stop negotiating your worth. You are not for everyone. That's not a flaw. That's a filter. The ones who reject you are not your people. And your job is not to bend, shrink, or twist to be accepted. Your job is to be fully you, so the right ones can recognize you. When you fear not being enough, you step into service. Not performance, not proving. Service. Help someone, share something, offer presence. Fear feeds on self-focus. But when you show up for others, fear loses oxygen because your soul remembers what matters. When you fear making decisions, build trust through action. Indecision is fear's playground, but clarity comes from movement, not thinking. Choose, move, learn, adjust, repeat. Confidence isn't the absence of doubt. It's the choice to move despite it. When you fear uncertainty, build inner rituals. The world will always shift, but your inner ground can stay steady. Create daily anchors, movement, breathwork, time in silence, writing, walking. These simple rituals remind your body and mind you are safe now, even if you don't know what's next. When fear returns, meet it with curiosity, not panic. What are you trying to protect me from? Ask without judgment. Fear is a messenger. Thank it. Listen. Then choose differently. Respond. Don't react. You are no longer its prisoner. You are its witness. Practice these principles daily. Witness, don't absorb. See the fear. Don't fuse with it. Feel, don't resist. Let the emotion move, then release it. Act, don't delay. Move through the fear. Momentum kills anxiety. Speak, don't silence. Let your voice be real, even when it shakes. Choose, don't wait. Life isn't about certainty, it's about movement. And finally, give yourself grace. This is a practice, a path. Some days, fear will win. That's okay. Just don't let it lead. You're allowed to fall. But stand again, softer, clearer, stronger. There is a life where fear no longer runs the show. A life where you walk into any room, any situation, and stay rooted. Not because there's no danger, but because there's no confusion about who you are. That's not just freedom. That's power. And that power has been yours all along. Live like fear has no vote. Live like you remember who you are. Live truly, fully, finally. The Matrix cannot touch a soul that no longer obeys fear. And that soul is already awake. It's you. We're sure you've discovered plenty of value, so subscribe now and stay connected.